Fallout New Vegas is one of my favorite games. It's as close to perfect as you can get with an 18-month development cycle. And even though it was released well over a decade ago, I still find the urge to play this awesome game. I usually do a playthrough with the understanding that this is it. This is my final playthrough, one for all the marbles, and after this, I'm done forever. Never again.
Never again. That's what I say every time I wear the plunger penis. I said I wouldn't do this again.
One of the things that makes this game so amazing is its well written factions. There are levels of logic and morality that is seen in nearly all of the factions. You would expect a faction as savage and brutal as Caesar's Legion to be universally hated, but even the main baddies of the game are so well written that there are people who think that Caesar's Legion wouldn't be the worst thing to happen for the Mojave Wasteland. Even after all this time, there are still discussions about which faction would be the best for the Mojave Wasteland. I wanted to add my own 2 cents on the matter, but instead of saying which faction I think is outright the best for the Mojave, I'd rather do a video essay on the moral alignment of the most important factions in the game. For those that have never seen one of these videos, there are two ranking categories. The first category is a faction's propensity towards order. The rankings are lawful, neutral, and chaotic. The second category is a faction's morality or karma in the Fallout universe. The three types are good, neutral, and evil, and the two combine for a total of 9 rankings: lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good, lawful neutral, true neutral, chaotic neutral, lawful evil, neutral evil, and chaotic evil. In this video, there will only be one faction per ranking. And with the introduction out the way, let's get started. So, for the lawful good, this one was an easy one. I chose the NCR. I know some people will disagree with this one. Sure, the NCR is imperialistic and has internal corruption issues, but it has many benefits to its citizens, as Colonel Moore says.
I don't have time to discuss all the different aspects of the NCR with you, but if you want it all in a nutshell, the NCR is progress. If you wander around the wasteland, you'll find all sorts of tribes, villages, and such where people spend most of their time trying to survive. The NCR gives its citizens a shot at something more. We have laws, currency, healthcare, government, all the things that were lost. It's not perfect, but it's worth protecting, which is why we also have the largest military in existence.
Even the people in New Vegas benefit from the NCR, even though they're not NCR citizens. Not only has the NCR halted the progress of Caesar's Legion, but they also greatly diminished the capacity of the Jackals and Vipers gang, and they actively fight against the Fiends in Outer Vegas, trying to secure the region. When it comes to its propensity towards order, the NCR has a bunch of laws that's designed to protect its citizens, and more importantly, it has the ability to enforce these laws within its territory. In game, places such as Prim benefit greatly from NCR's protection if you allow it to become part of NCR territory. The NCR is not a perfect faction, but it's probably my favorite faction in the game, and its propensity towards order and its lawful nature, as well as overall goodness of it, I'd say that makes it the lawful good. The neutral good of Fallout New Vegas goes to the followers of the Apocalypse. The followers of the Apocalypse are a humanitarian group that seeks to offer aid to everyone that needs it in a variety of different ways. Most of their services consist of healthcare and education, and it's a noble cause that most people tend to admire. Again, I say most people.
If you think it's worthwhile to make smart people learn how to talk like backward savages, you're a follower of the apocalypse, or an idiot.
They're good because they help everyone ranging from NCR citizens, Freeside residents, and local tribals. There's even cut content of a follower trying to start a clinic to help the fiends get sober. The reason why they're neutral good is because they lack any significant ability to create order. In Freeside, they can only protect their own and treat people who are victims of chaos. They have ideas of how to de escalate the situation, but they really lack any means of putting these ideas into action. In fact, their inability to protect their own people is what has led to the rise of Caesar's Legion. But I do like them, and I usually am on good terms with them whenever I do a playthrough. The Chaotic Good faction is coincidentally the most stylish in the game, the Freeside Kings. The Kings are an overall good faction that want to improve Freeside. Their leader, The king tries to make the most of a bad situation. He describes the kings as
We're different than other gangs, and not just because we dress better. We're not just a group of thugs looking for our next fight. The kings are about an idea, you see, where every man is free to follow his own path, do his own thing, where every man is a king in his own right.
while their karma is good, they are still chaotic because they are a local gang. Sure, they're not tyrannical or cruel to the locals, but they are cruel to NCR citizens when the courier first gets into Freeside. And to be fair, this is out of fear of the NCR's imperialistic tendencies. And even though that fear is understandable, it does end up costing the people of Freeside. But the kings still have good intentions. The king will reward the courier if the courier has a high Freeside reputation, and that's a nice way of rewarding good behavior. And if you inform the king that the NCR wants to offer relief effort to everyone in Freeside rather than just NCR citizens, he would actually want to cooperate, start up negotiations. And in the best possible Freeside ending, the king works hand in hand with the NCR to offer relief to the people of Freeside. The lawful neutral faction goes to the Brotherhood of Steel. The Western Brotherhood of Steel is a lot different from the Fallout 3 version. This chapter doesn't care about raiders, fiends, legionnaires, or any faction that isn't actively seeking technology. Preserving and protecting the wasteland from dangerous technology is all this faction stands for. But they also tend to leave innocent people alone. Most people in the wasteland don't have advanced weaponry that would interest the Brotherhood of Steel. If the Brotherhood of Steel is left alone in the Independent Vegas ending, they will retake Helios and confiscate advanced technology from people they come across. Their indifference to the people of the Mojave Wasteland is the reason why I would classify them as neutral. The reason I gave them lawful is because they are a highly disciplined group. They have formal codes of conduct on how they should act and perform the jobs they are given. There is a strict chain of command, and the codex will be followed. In the event of an elder failing to meet his duties, the elder can be removed from command. It's actually possible to remove Elder McNamara from command. Their strict discipline, mixed with their indifference to the wasteland, gives them the lawful neutral faction. The true neutral of Fallout New Vegas goes to Mr. House, aka Robert Edwin House, aka Big Daddy Snow Globes. Mr. House is the sole proprietor of the New Vegas Strip, and he prevented the region from complete nuclear annihilation. Instead, the region only suffered large amounts of nuclear destruction. Everything he does to forward his ambitions. He seeks to rule New Vegas as a dictator,
I prefer the term autocrat.
autocrat, but not one that's rife with corruption. He has very large ambitions for the people of New Vegas.
The city's economy is a blast furnace in which can be forged the steel of a new rail line running straight to a new horizon. With all that money pouring in, give me 20 years and I'll reignite the high technology development sectors. 50 years and I'll have people in orbit. 100 years and my colony ships will be heading for the stars to search for planets unpolluted by the wrath and folly of a bygone generation.
He doesn't have near as big an ego as Caesar and doesn't really care what people do in their personal lives. However, there are some unnecessary acts of violence that House commits. If House wins the Battle of Hoover Dam and the Kings don't act aggressively towards the NCR, House will have the Kings killed, even though House has shown little to no interest in the people of Freeside, and the Kings really aren't even a threat to him, yet he's still perfectly fine with wiping them out. You could almost call Mr. House a lawful neutral. He does impose laws in important areas like Hoover Dam and the Strip, and he's very meticulous with his details of the NCR pulling out of the region. But if the courier doesn't deal with factions like powder gangers, they will continue to be a nuisance in the wasteland. And it's not clear what House does with the fiends or the great khans, especially if the fiend's strength is never reduced. Mr. House is in the gray area in terms of morality, and even though I can kind of understand the argument for making him a lawful neutral, his attitude of protecting of only what is essential and screw everything else lands him in the true neutral category. The chaotic neutral faction goes to the wild card, or yes man, in the courier. This is the faction that gives the player the most autonomy in the game. If you want to let the White Glove Society become cannibals again, go for it. If you want to ignore the Brotherhood of Steel, even though they're likely going to be your biggest opposition in an independent Vegas, hey, you can absolutely do that. If you want to wipe out the Great Khans, because why wouldn't you want to do that? That option is 100% on the table. Hey, what do you know? I'm doing that right now. I call this faction neutral for two reasons. First, as a way to consider the ramifications of all the different player choices possible. And second, Yes Man is a machine that will do whatever the player or anyone else tells him to do. Even though Benny may not have wanted Yes Man to tell the courier his entire plan, he does. Even if the player does a terrible job in dealing with the factions, Yes Man will say,
You did a super job wrapping things up, and I'm not just saying that because I have to.
the reason that this faction gets a chaotic neutral is because the plan is not as well thought out as, say, Mr. House's for New Vegas. Mr. House had terms of surrender for the NCR and plans to sell water and electricity back to the NCR once the fighting was over. And while it is fun to throw General Oliver off the dam, there is no plan for what happens once you drive away the NCR and Caesar's Legion. And things are even worse if you decide to destroy the Securitron army at Caesar's Fort. In that instance, New Vegas just burns and eventually everyone loses interest. Ultimately, the wild card is the chaotic neutral for Fallout New Vegas. The lawful evil faction goes to Caesar's Legion. Caesar's Legion is definitely the evil faction of the game. They're harsh, brutal, and they have the means to back up their talk. They massacre entire towns like Nipton and enslave various tribes and groups. Psychopaths such as Volpes and Linnaeus excel in a faction like that, and they are absolutely ruthless as legionnaires. I don't think there's any disagreement that the Legion is an evil faction, but I do believe that a lot of people will consider the Legion to be a chaotic evil faction because of their constant raids in the Mojave Wasteland and the damage and chaos that they cause as a result of their actions. However, the reason I listed Caesar's Legion as lawful is because of the way that the Legion operates inside of Legion territory. The Legion has essentially killed or driven off all raiders within their territory. The roads in Legion territory are safe and secure, that most caravans don't even need to hire bodyguards when trading within Legion territory. It's assumed that most people living within the Legion's borders live a very safe and secure life. The other reason that I listed Caesar's Legion as lawful is because there's a strict hierarchy. Their soldiers are disciplined and will follow their orders without question. As Colonel Moore of the NCR said,
They're organized, I'll give them that. The few times I've encountered them firsthand, I've been impressed with their discipline. I've heard they don't allow women in their military, considering them nothing more than breeding stock. Their men, however, are typically quite large, in phenomenal condition, and prefer close-quarter weapons. Recent engagements have taught us to fear their shock attacks, so it's a blessing that we seem to have superior firearms. I've never once seen a single one of them back down or disobey an order. They'll happily charge a fortified position with little more than a sharpened stick if ordered to, and do so without hesitation.
So even though they're the baddies of Fallout New Vegas, their discipline and order that they have within their own territory makes Caesar's Legion a lawful evil. Alright, let's get this one over with. Neutral evil, the Great Khans. The Great Khans are a neutral evil because they're a tribe with a formal hierarchy in terms of leadership, and there doesn't appear to be any sort of just random fights breaking out in their camps. However, they are more than willing to raid caravans and deliver chems to fiends, causing more chaos in the Mojave Wasteland. They're evil because they are essentially a group of raiders and drug dealers that were driven out of NCR territory. And when they established themselves in the Mojave Wasteland, they saw an opportunity just to pick and plunder various groups of people. And that's not my words for it. That's the words of Papa Khan.
The Great Khans came east out of the NCR 14 years ago. We ruled the wastes then, and called no man master. But we underestimated the families of the Strip, and they drove us back to Bitter Springs, where we remained until the NCR arrived and drove us here. When the NCR came to the Mojave, we thought they would be easy pickings. We raided their caravans, their towns, their camps. They couldn't stop us. At least that's what we thought. They tracked us to Bitter Springs and surrounded us. When our children, our sick and old, fled through a nearby pass, The NCR gunned them down.
And honestly, I hate this faction because they acknowledge they're a bunch of bullies who pick on anyone that they can. But the second that anyone fights back against them, they immediately pretend that they're some sort of victim, even though they're the ones that started the fight. Neutral evil and terrible faction, great cons. There are several factions that could have taken the chaotic evil mantle. Ultimately, I decided to go with the Fiends. The Fiends are a group of unpredictable raiders that are addicted to chems and will terrorize the Mojave Wasteland to get money for their chems. They're based out of Vault 3. A group of nice and friendly vault dwellers once lived there, but the Fiends decided that they couldn't allow that, so when the polite vault dwellers opened the door and let them in, the Fiends just killed them all. And you could probably find a lot more reasons to rank this faction as evil by some of the actions some of their members take. Case in point, Cook Cook. But, I'm not going to go into that because, YouTube. I rated them as chaotic because they don't seem to have any sense of order outside of a few people. If you take out the leader, Motor Runner, the fiends will scatter and become weak and disorganized. Also, there are serious problems that come into play when your entire faction is addicted to chems. What happens when your group is running short on chems? I don't think they're going to have the rational thought of being patient in the short term for long term rewards. The situation would probably end up looking like Vault 95 and Fallout 4. So, for their terrible deeds done in the Mojave Wasteland and the internal and external chaos that the Fiends sow, the Fiends are the chaotic evil faction of Fallout New Vegas. To summarize, here's a chart detailing the video. I have the NCR as the lawful good, the followers of the apocalypse as the neutral good, the Freeside Kings as the chaotic good, the Brotherhood of Steel as the lawful neutral, Mr. House as the true neutral, the Wild Card as the chaotic neutral, the Legion as the lawful evil, the Great Khans as the neutral evil, and the Fiends as the chaotic evil. I appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Right now, I'm considering making another Fallout New Vegas video or a Silent Hill Downpour video. Let me know which one you'd prefer, and I'll catch you later.